So in Texas, to make a valid will, you need certain elements. The person making the will has to be of age, they have to be 18 years or older. They have to have what's called testamentary intent. And we'll go back to that in a minute. The will has to be written down. We don't have oral wills in Texas, and it has to be signed by the testator. Most of the time, it has to be witnessed by two individuals that we call them disinterested witnesses. So people who aren't taking under the will. So let's talk about testamentary intent. What is that? The person signing the will, they have to have capacity. It can't be somebody who, doesn't know where they are, who they are. They have to know what their assets are and who would inherit their assets if they didn't make a will. And generally, that seems like an easy obstacle to overcome, but it just has to be there. So then we talked about written wills versus oral wills. So the will has to be written. It has to be signed by two witnesses unless we have what's called a holographic will. Now, this is a place where people can get into trouble. We have a lot of people who download wills from the internet, or they maybe have heard that they can do a will on their own, or somebody has said on the internet they can do it on their own, which is actually true. You can have a valid will that you've made all by yourself. And the way to get that done is to write the entire will in your own handwriting and sign it. But it has to have the testamentary intent part of it. So usually what that means is you have to identify it as your last will and testament. We've had holographic wills where it looks like a note to somebody, and it says like, I would like to give my assets to, or in the future I want, and that doesn't really have the intent that we're looking for, which is, this is my will, this is who my estate is going to go to upon my death, period. Another thing that people miss with holographic wills is identifying who you want to be in charge of your estate, your executor. So if you wanted to do a perfect holographic will, you would say, I want my daughter Susie to be independent executor of my estate. Because if you just have executor, then the court is still going to have oversight over your estate. We don't want that. We want to have, easy, cost-effective procedures in the probate court. So we don't want the court to be looking over our shoulder, every little step that we take. Sometimes that's good, honestly, but most of the time what we want is less oversight, less costly. Let me think if we need anything else for holographic wills. Okay. Sometimes what we see is people have downloaded a form from the internet and they filled in the blanks in their own handwriting. So that may not, and then they sign it. That may not fall under holographic will because it's not their own handwriting and it doesn't meet the requirements of a valid will in Texas, which is written, signed, two witnesses. So people kind of mix up the requirements, which is a really good reason to go to an attorney, make sure it's done right. Even though it may be a little bit more expensive on the front end, you're saving money in the long run.